Victory Day in Moscow. On Red Square, before the Kremlin Palace and the Soviet leaders, the Red Army celebrates its triumph over Nazi Germany. Like the Romans of old, soldiers throw the defeated enemy's flags at the feet of the victor, Generalissimo Joseph Stalin. After 2 decades in power, he stands at the height of his glory. A poet wrote, "Stalin, you are higher than the skies, brighter than the sun." Across the world, millions worship him as the father of nations, the promise of a just society. In France and beyond, voices rise in his praise. Stalin, Stalin. Yet behind the myth hides one of history's greatest criminals. He built a regime of terror, enslaving millions in the Gulag, orchestrating famines that killed millions more, and crushing all who stood in his way. This is the story of a poor craftsman's son who rose to absolute power and became one of mankind's most deadly dictators. Winter grips Moscow. Lenin, the father of the Bolshevik Revolution, is dead. Among the pallbearers of his coffin is a relatively obscure party secretary, Joseph Stalin. Few imagine that within a decade, most of those standing beside him will be dead, executed on his orders. Born Iosif Jugashvili in 1878, the son of a poor shoemaker and an abusive alcoholic, Stalin grew up in hardship. From the seminary, he joined the underground fight against the Tsar. He took the name Stalin, Man of Steel. After the revolution of 1917, he remained in Lenin's shadow, waiting for his moment. That moment came with Lenin's death. Stalin outmaneuvered rivals like Trotsky, eventually exiling him. By 1924, Stalin seized power. From the Kremlin, he would rule the Soviet Union, the largest country on earth, for the next 3 decades. Stalin envisioned a new world. He abolished religion, destroyed icons, and demanded the past be erased. In its place, he promised a paradise of equality, no rich, no poor, education and healthcare for all. Gigantic projects arose: subways, dams, factories, power plants. Soviet propaganda proclaimed him the leader of the workers, his image plastered everywhere, in schools, factories, homes. His biography, rewritten by himself, declared him the greatest captain of all times and peoples. But the reality was grim. While skyscrapers rose, families crowded into tiny shared apartments. Poverty spread, food was scarce. The dream of communism was already crumbling. To explain failures, Stalin blamed saboteurs, scientists, engineers, officials, all accused of conspiring against the state. Public trials followed, with confessions extracted through torture. Sentences were predetermined. Death. It was a performance. Defendants admitted crimes they never committed, only to be executed. Stalin himself remained in the shadows, orchestrating it all. Even his family was not spared. His eldest son, Yakov, attempted suicide. Stalin mocked him. His wife, Nadezhda, suffered under his cruelty. After one heated quarrel, she ended her life with a revolver. The truth was concealed for decades. For Stalin, this personal loss hardened his rule even further. Determined to control agriculture, Stalin forced millions of peasants into collective farms. Those who resisted were branded enemies. Police raided villages, seizing crops, leaving families to starve. The result, famine. Ukraine, the breadbasket of Europe, was devastated. Entire families perished. Letters tell of parents watching children starve. By Stalin's design, millions died in what history remembers as the Holodomor. Foreign visitors, like French politician Edouard Herriot, were deceived by staged tours. Propaganda showed lush fields and smiling peasants while corpses were hidden. Stalin's system ran on lies. Meanwhile, hundreds of thousands vanished into the Gulag, a network of labor camps stretching across the USSR. Men, women, and children alike were deported without trial. Intellectuals, priests, ordinary citizens, all became enemies of the people. Prisoners toiled in brutal cold, digging canals and building railways with bare hands. 30,000 died building the Stalin Canal alone, a waterway so shallow that ships could barely use it. For Stalin, human life was expendable. Death solves all problems. No man, no problem. By the late 1930s, Stalin's paranoia reached new heights. He turned against his oldest comrades, those who had built the revolution with him. Bukharin, Zinoviev, Kamenev, and countless others were executed after staged trials. The secret police under Nikolai Yezhov hunted enemies everywhere. Quotas for executions were set, thousands shot each day. Neighbors denounced neighbors, even children denounced parents. Fear was absolute. Then Yezhov himself was purged, executed, and erased from photographs. Stalin alone remained untouchable. While Stalin ruled through terror, in Germany, Adolf Hitler was rising. He dreamed of conquering the Soviet Union to provide living space for Germans. In 1939, Stalin struck a deal with Hitler, the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. It bought him time, but it was an uneasy truce. A week later, Germany invaded Poland, launching World War II. Stalin seized territories in Eastern Europe, convinced he had secured peace. But Hitler had other plans. At dawn, 3 million German soldiers stormed across the Soviet border. Stalin had ignored countless warnings, convinced they were traps. When the invasion began, the Red Army was unprepared. Thousands of planes were destroyed on the ground. Soldiers fled in chaos. Stalin's own son, Yakov, was captured. Moscow waited for Stalin's voice, but he was silent. For days, he disappeared into the Kremlin, shattered by the disaster. Finally, his deputy Molotov announced to the nation, "We are at war." The dictator who had terrorized his people was suddenly powerless. The survival of the Soviet Union and the fate of millions now hung in the balance.
Was Stalin truly a savior or one of humanity's greatest disasters? The answer remains hidden in the darkest pages of history.